Bishop Minogue Senior Guard Jordan Morency.
Sniper.
Jordan Morency.
My name is Jordan Morency. I'm a combo guard at Cal Poly Maritime.
My name is Todd Grenner, and I am a pastor at Mountainside Community Church.
How you doing today?
Good. So, Jordan, you got quite a story.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about your story and kind of dig into it and see what we can come up with today.
I would love to.
All right.
It's the main goal of this.
Amen.
Growing up, I grew up one of 5 children. I'm the middle child, 2 older sisters, a younger brother, and a younger sister. And growing up, I was the baby for sure. I was the first boy and 2 older sisters, so I was babied heavily, and they were amazing. They helped raise me along with my parents, and both my parents are, very accomplished in their sport. My father as a baseball player, my mother as a dancer, and just growing up around, sports and family, having a big family, it's you learn you kind of get comfortable with like, oh, this is how everyday life is for everybody.
Right.
I think that's how I felt for a long time. And then going into my 6th grade year, my grandfather had passed away.
Mm-hmm.
It was 4/11/15. Remember that date to this day. I was in a football game, and I'll never forget, my father came up to me at halftime, and he was crying, which my father, if you know him, he's very much not the crier in public. He's more the strong, sturdy man. And
Yeah.
he came up to me at halftime crying, and he told me, your grandfather just died. Like, good luck. Have a great rest of the game.
Oh, yeah. Good luck with that.
And I'm 11 years old, and I was like, I was in so much shock because an hour before, I decided not to call him. To hear about an hour and a half later that he's gone, and
Mm-hmm.
I just have to go finish this game. Like,
Right.
to hear that at that moment was one of the hardest things I've ever experienced, and I can only imagine how hard it was for my father.
Right.
So fast forward a few months, and I'm in California for a basketball tournament with my dad and then my little siblings and my mother, and my older sister's at the house, like house sitting and watching it for us before she goes off to college at UNR, and a pipe bursts, and my sister does everything she can to kind of what she knows to help fix the house, and
Yeah.
for us to come back the following day or 2 days later, and then we have mitigation workers come and help, fix the house and get the water damage all out and everything. And they leave, I would say, probably 3 weeks later.
Okay.
And then a few weeks after that, my mother became really sick, and she went into a hospital.
Mm.
And I was like, oh God, there's no way I lose my grandfather and mother in like this short amount of time.
Right. So we're talking like maybe
I would say no
2
more
months,
than,
3
no
months.
more than like 4 or 5 months after.
Wow.
Like, I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna lose both my grandfather and my mother right
Yeah.
now.
Right.
And from what I remember, my parents just thought it was best to get out of the house while they checked it again.
Yeah.
So we lived in a hotel room for like 2-3 weeks, and came back that the mitigation workers that had worked on the house didn't do their job correctly,
Mm.
and there was mold.
Oh, wow.
And then came a lawsuit, and that stretched until I was a senior in high school.
Wow.
So from 6th grade until I was a senior in high school. But from there, when we go into a lawsuit, we can't fix it at that moment because it's evidence. And we move out, and from what I remember, it was, it's only going to be a month.
Right.
Then a month turned into 2 months. Then 2 months turned into half a year, and then half a year turned into a year, and then a year turned into 7 years.
Oh, wow.
Of moving around and just kind of not knowing where you're sleeping at night. Like,
Right.
going to middle school, and that in general is just such a hard time for a teen
Absolutely.
and a kid. And then during that time to wonder, oh, like, what's for dinner, or where am I going to sleep tonight, or
Right.
am I going to sleep at my family's house? We not only did I live with my family, I lived with coaches and other family members as well, and that that thought always was a thing from 6th grade until I moved to Reno from my sophomore year of high school. So during COVID, we moved up here, and that feeling of abandonment, or just uncertainty.
Yeah, misplacement, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard, especially for like the oldest, like me, I'll say, because like my younger siblings, they were so young, and they obviously have their own opinions on it and feelings on it. But my parents used to always say, "Oh, we're on vacation. We're on vacation."
Really long vacation.
And I was like, as a kid, I'm knowing like this isn't vacation.
Right.
Like this is where we live. But like that was their way of like simmering it down for like the younger kids, and having to just kind of, I don't want to say keep the lie going, but just like, yeah, it's just vacation. Like we're good. Like everything's gonna be good. We're gonna be back in the house soon. Like
Right.
having to keep that going when that's not the truth.
Right.
It's hard.
I can imagine.
And then, you know, just going through that as a young kid, it put a lot on my plate. And that's such an awkward time for a kid in general.
Absolutely.
Middle school and freshman year of high school, you're still trying to understand who you are as a person.
Yep.
And I mean, I went to 3 different middle schools, and I went to homeschool for my 8th grade year, and all different walks of life, all from each middle school is a different group of ethnic backgrounds and just classes. And
Yeah.
so being around that, it was interesting because I got to learn how to fit into a lot of different social circles.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
how to navigate real life as 6th, 7th, and 8th grader.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But it was definitely a difficult time. I mean, I remember I was bullied a lot for being overweight and an athlete, let alone a basketball player. Like,
Right.
so I was at such an awkward time in my life where like I was like in between that growth spurt and
Right.
that younger body.
Yep.
So I hadn't hit it yet. I was a late bloomer, and like I was bullied. Like a lot of kids used to call me like raving rabbits, or like certain jokes, and just tease me about my weight and the way I looked. And going into high school, I was recruited by a lot of top notch Division I programs, and my freshman year had a very solid freshman year basketball wise. At Silverado High School, I was a starter on varsity as a freshman, and everything was looking very good. And then COVID hit,
Right.
and that halted not only my plans but the world's plans
Yeah.
in general for
Yeah.
a solid 2 years. And then during COVID, me and my family, we came out to visit Reno because my uncle lives here.
Mhm.
You know him.
Yep.
So we were coming here just to visit for 4th of July, and I wanted to get a workout in
Yeah.
during COVID. And so my auntie, who's a Minogue alum, along with myself, she reached out to the president and the coaches, and I got a workout. And I mean, 3 days later, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to Minogue.
Okay.
Like, this is where I want to be. The
Yeah.
coaching staff. To this day, I text my old head coach, Coach Bollinger, and the group of guys I was with my sophomore through senior year. Like, I will never trade that for anything. And it was, to this day, I tell everyone, like, going to Minogue was one of the best decisions for me as a person, rather than like my athletic career, because obviously you come from a big city in Las Vegas to
Yeah.
Reno as an athlete. It's not very like looked highly upon.
Right.
A lot of people think that Reno's not as superior in sports, and I think the big thing for me was like, oh, I don't really care what people think. Like,
Right.
I want to be near my family, and I want to be the person that gets out of Reno. Like, I want to show that Reno has talent.
Right.
And so, going into sophomore year, COVID cancels the season.
Yeah.
Which, that sophomore year team, to this day, I talk to a lot of them, and I'm like, we would have we would have done a lot of damage. You know,
Right.
I'm not gonna say we would have won state, but I believe we would have been a very talented team in the state. We were just so close. Like, I think there was only one of us, other than myself, that is playing college basketball. But all of us, we were best friends, spending
Wow.
every weekend together. Our parties were going to my coach's house and watching Harry Potter
Love it.
with his son who was on the team, and like that was our weekends. Just
Yeah.
gonna watch Harry Potter, a movie series, or Star Wars. And then sophomore summer, I get a lot more interest, and going into my junior year, I'm talking to a very well established sports school for basketball
Uh-huh.
in the Big East, and I was like, this is where I want to go. Like, I'm
Right.
telling my mom, my family, like, hey, I'm gonna commit here. This is where I'm gonna go. And to this day, one of my friends plays on the teams, and I was talking to him about it. I was like, hey, let's go, let's do it. And he's like, all right, like, I'll think about it. And he was a much highly recruited player, and I'm like, all right, this is where I'm going, mom. Like, I'm gonna go to this school. And she's
Yeah.
like, okay. So the way the school worked is they offer on the visits. They don't offer like on phone calls or on Zoom calls.
Okay. So-
It's, hey, let's get you on campus.
Yeah.
We'll offer you a scholarship there. And they told me that. They're like, this is how we do things. And I was
Right.
like, all right, cool. So we set up the official visit for right after my birthday, but I get COVID.
Oh, geez.
And I'm like, hey guys, I got COVID. Can't come. Let's reschedule. And the coach is like, oh, for sure. Like, yes, but we'll reschedule for sure. So we reschedule for late December. And we get there, and it's like 4 days before, and the coach is like, hey, make sure you bring your vaccination card.
Right.
And so I go to my mom, like, hey, mom, we got to go get vaccinated. Like, we need the vaccination card. And she's like, nah.
No
She's
vaccination.
like, not enough studies out on it. And I was like, well, mom, like, to go to the school, like, I'm gonna commit to, like, I need to be vaccinated.
Right.
And I had just turned 18 at this time in my junior year, and I'm like, I'm gonna go do it. Like,
On your own.
I'm 18 years old. I can go do this.
Yeah.
And my mom, I'll never forget this. It's like probably 10:30 at night. She looks at me. She says, "You go do it. I'm cutting you off.
Oh, wow.
Like, you're not gonna do this under my roof." And I was like, "All right, mom. I'm gonna let you sleep on this. Like, I'm gonna let you sleep on it. I'm gonna go to bed because I got school tomorrow." And the next day, I come to her in the morning while she's making my breakfast. I'm like, "All right, did you think about it?" She's like, "Yeah, still no.
Right.
Like, we're not getting vaccinated." And I was like, ugh. So I called my godmother and I asked her opinion on it. I said, hey, what would you do if you were me? I was like, I kind of know what I want to do. I'm just like letting you know that if I do this, I may have to come live with you.
Right.
And
18 years old, you know everything.
I'm like, hey, I might need to come live with you. And my godmother is like, don't, like, you're not going to come live with me. Like, I'm not letting my kids do it.
Gotcha.
And so I was in school and I'm like, there's no way I'm about to call this head coach in first period and tell them, hey, not going to come to the visit. I'm not going to commit.
Right.
And then I'm not going to tell my friend who I told, like, hey, commit, we'll be roommates, all that,
Right.
that I'm not going to commit because
Right.
of this.
Yeah.
And so I let it die down for like a day. And then the next day I call my mom, like, hey, mom, have you changed your mind at all? She's like, no.
Yeah.
So the next 2 days after I found out that I had to get vaccinated, I had to call the coach and be like, hey, I'm not going to be coming. I'm not going to commit. I appreciate you and, the coaching staff for getting to know me, but it's just not going to work out.
Right.
And when you're in basketball, like, once a coach finds out, like, hey, he's going to commit somewhere,
Right.
they're not going to talk to you or offer you. Like, they're not going to waste their time.
Right.
And so that, along with, moving to Reno, it just kind of died down on the interest I had. And
Uh-huh.
then going into my senior year, I was in a good place mentally. We had just gotten a new head coach,
Okay.
Luke Babbitt, who's currently there. And
Yeah.
I was very excited for the year. We had the same team and we had for our junior year, and we felt we should have won. regionals our junior year, but we didn't. So we wanted to come back with vengeance, and
Absolutely.
we wanted to win. And so going into my senior year, I was very excited, and it was a few days before the season started, and it was like a little like preseason scrimmages, and I roll my ankle, and I sprained it really bad.
Oh, wow.
So I miss a good part of the season with injury, and it was in my senior year, and I wanted to be on the McDonald's All-American team and be nominated. So to be that, I had to play a certain amount of games.
Right.
And I was like, hey, coach, just put me in.
Yeah.
I don't got to do much.
Playing hurt.
Just put me in so I get the game locked.
Right.
And he's like, okay, we'll do that. And so for like half the season, we're doing that. And around early December, I get a text from him during school. He's like, hey, let's come to practice an hour early. Like, media wants to talk to you. And I'm like, okay.
Interesting.
I'm like, okay, I'm coming an hour early to practice. I'm like, this is either going to be really good or really bad.
Right.
So I get there, and I get into my practice gear, and he's like, no, you should probably, like, keep regular clothes on for, like, the next hour. And I'm like,
Oh, no.
what do you mean? He says, someone told them about your story and, growing up displaced and losing my grandfather and all that, and someone told them and they want to interview about it.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh, it's not what I'm expecting at 6:30 on a Monday morning.
Right.
Or Monday night. Like, okay. And so I tell my story, and at first I didn't think anything of it. To me, it's my story, and I embraced it.
Right.
It's like, this is how I grew up. This is in my life.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice, or I didn't realize the amount of trauma that I hadn't healed from.
Yeah.
In that sense. And when that story was published, another media company was like, hey, let's publish our own story.
Okay.
And so they published it, and from there it was a frenzy. It was every day in school, getting weird looks.
Right.
Because they're hearing that, oh, Jordan was homeless.
Right.
Jordan, he goes to the rich school. Like,
right.
They don't worry about this at Minogue.
Right.
And, teachers having me sign autographs on newspapers or pictures of me. And
Oh, wow.
like, just, as a 18, 19-year-old kid, you're like,
That's a lot of
this
pressure.
is not something I want to do at school, is sign
Yeah.
autographs and talk to people about my childhood. Like, I
Right.
don't really want to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm a people pleaser. I want everyone to enjoy talking to me and enjoy their time with me. So I always gave people the time of day and talked to them about it.
Right.
And I didn't notice it, but my mom and, my friends that were really near and dear to me, they noticed it, and they were just like, yo, Jordan, like, something's wrong. Like,
Yeah.
you good?
Yeah.
And
It's a lot of pressure for a
Like-
kid at 18 years old.
yeah, and the moment they asked me, like, hey, are you okay?
Yeah.
Like, when my mom asked me, like, hey, how are you doing? Like, I broke. Like,
Yeah.
I just cried in her arms, and I couldn't. It was something that, like, no one understood, like, how hard it was,
Right.
and no one, like, genuinely, like, looked me in the eyes and was just like, hey, like, how are you doing? Like, are you okay?
Yeah.
And so when my mom, like, genuinely came home after working 12 hours and was like, hey, how are you doing? Like, you good? And, like,
Yeah.
genuinely meant it. It was everything I needed. It was everything I needed to hear.
Right.
It was just like, oh, wow.
So everything you've been packing in your heart for all these years just came
I
out.
was like, no, Mom, I'm not. Like, I'm like, and I sat there and probably for like 45 minutes, and me and her just cried and talked. And, like, I think the hardest part was, it wasn't just affecting me. It was affecting, the people I loved. Like,
Yeah.
my little siblings, my little sister gets called into the office, the counseling office, and she's told, hey, if you want to talk about it, like, we can talk about it.
Oh, wow.
And my sister's like, no, I'm good. Like,
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Right.
And then, like, same thing with my little brother, and, like, their stuff is getting aired out, like, their
Right.
business, because, like, my business is getting aired out.
Right.
And so when that was happening, I was like, oh, wow, like, this isn't just affecting me. And then I had a really good friend that, to this day, she was one of the person I talked to the most. And like, we'd go out to the movies
Mm-hmm.
and like, they'd be like, oh, that's Jordan. Hey, what's up? Like, hey, like just trying to talk to me.
Right.
And it's like, hey, like, I just want to watch a movie with
Right.
my friend.
Right.
And, when she'd come to the movies with like me and my family and they'd say, oh, that's Jordan. She'd be like, every time we go out,
Right.
it's every time.
That's a lot of pressure.
So I decided then, probably mid-January, that I was like, I'm not going to talk to media no more. I'm not going to go out.
Right.
I'm going to deal with this personally with my family and my loved ones. And I'm not dealing with media anymore.
Yeah.
So I remember after a game, a media person came up to me and was like, hey, can I interview you? Can I talk to you for a minute? And my mom, she was like, no,
Yeah.
done.
Right.
Like, go get ready.
Yeah. She knew the impact it
She's
already
like,
had
no,
on you.
You're good. You got all the stories you need. Just watch basketball. Let my
Yeah,
son
good.
enjoy his senior year. And when my mom stood up for me and told the person that, I was like, thanks, mom. Like,
Right. She had your back, right?
like I couldn't do it,
Right.
but I wanted to.
Yeah.
And my mom did it, and it was amazing that my mom did it. And from there, it was amazing. It was when we had that big snowstorm back in 2023, and we got snowed into our house for a few days. So
Yeah.
for like 3 or 4 days, every day, my mom 4 times a day is like rubbing my ankle and like icing my ankle. We're doing like therapy on it for straight 4 days
Yeah.
of therapy. And I come out after I decided not to talk to media, not to go out anymore, not to talk about my story. And I play a really good game. I have a really good game. And, my ankle wasn't hurting and I just felt ready. And, from there, us as a team, we went on a very good season and we ended up winning regionals
Okay.
pretty handedly. And, we went to state back in Las Vegas, back in my hometown. And
Yeah.
it was great getting to play in front of my family that lived there, my friends that lived there, and then obviously playing against my friends
Right.
on the other team. Growing up in Las Vegas, it's much like Reno, as much as people don't want to admit it.
Right.
It is so much like Reno, where if like everyone knows everyone,
Right.
especially in a certain group. So like all the top basketball players know the other
Right.
top basketball
Absolutely.
players.
Absolutely.
So playing against Liberty, who had 2 or 3 guys that I played with growing up, and
Yeah.
then the team that won state, Durango, had a few guys I grew up playing with. It was cool to play against the guys I grew up playing with, and
Yeah. It's cool.
back in my hometown for my senior year, and then to just end it there. That was a storybook ending.
Yeah.
I'm happy to this day. I'm so happy that I got to finish my high school career in Las Vegas,
Right.
where it all started.
Yeah.
And then, I decided to go the JUCO route and go to Bryan and Stratton in Virginia Beach. And I moved there and I love it. I had time of my life there. The guys I was roommates with were amazing. I had a great time. The coaching staff was amazing, and the team in general, we had a really good team.
Yeah.
And where we lived wasn't the safest place. We lived in Norfolk, Virginia,
Okay.
which just isn't the most safe place in general. And first week moving there, my car gets broken into, and it's like, okay, it's a big city, like,
Right.
it's whatever. It's a
Things happen.
college town,
Right.
city, it's whatever. And then a few days before Thanksgiving, I think it was the day before or 2 days before, I'm in my room playing video games, and my roommates are watching basketball and getting haircuts in the living room and probably playing 2K as well. And I just hear a lot of noise. So I'm like, okay, someone lost in 2K or someone's mad at their haircut.
Right.
And someone's starting to fight. Like, this is JUCO basketball. I'm not
Right.
oblivious to this. So, I get up, throw a t-shirt on, throw sweats on, and I get ready to walk out. And I open the door, and I just see 2 masked gunmen standing at my door.
Wow.
Like just standing there. And I look out, and I hear one of them just like be like, oh, and like turns around and starts walking towards me. And the most calm I've ever been to this day, I just backpedal into my room and just shut it and lock it. And I call my teammate who lived across the hall, and I was like, hey, so there's 2 guys in here with guns. I don't really know what to do. I don't have a gun. I don't really have anything to protect myself other than a steak knife.
Right.
You know, like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And he says, hey, I'm in the room across from you.
Right.
Call like our RA, like our coach. So I call our coach, who's our RA, and he comes, and he was just like, what happened? And, you know, telling him the story, he like asked me, I was like, dude, I was in my room the whole time. Like, I don't know. Like, I
Yeah.
just walked down, saw 2 masked gunmen. And he was like, well, why didn't you call the police? And I was like, listen, I saw 2 masked gunmen. The police isn't going to get here in time
Right.
to save me.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, who's going to help me immediately?
Yeah. Right.
I was like, I called Joe. He was across the hall. He wasn't there. He was in my, like, the room in my apartment.
Yeah.
So you're the next person to call.
Yeah.
After you, it would have been the cops.
Yeah.
But you were first on the hit list. And he was like, okay, cool. So makes sense. So then we get interviewed and, you know, interrogated just so they can understand the situation. And I don't tell my mom anything. I don't tell my family anything.
Oh man.
I don't even tell anyone besides my godfather. I'm like, hey, this happened.
Right.
And he's like, you may need to tell your parents.
Yeah.
Like, you might need to. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I am. He's like, I'm not going to, but listen, you need to.
Yeah.
And so, like, a day later, I went to go get candles from, like, my apartment.
Uh-huh.
And my mom's like, hey, like, make sure you leave it out in the living room, too, so it, like, airs the whole whole apartment, so it all smells good. I'm like, oh, I don't leave anything in the apartment after the robbery. And she's like, what robbery? And I was like, at that moment, I'm like,
Whoops.
slipped up there. And I told her about the robbery, and she's like, what?
Yeah.
And two weeks later, she calls me with my dad on the phone. Is like, hey, we're gonna come pick you up right now.
Oh wow.
Like, your dad's gonna fly in and pack your stuff up. We're gonna come back home,
Yeah.
and we're gonna try to get your year back of eligibility. And so 2 days later, my dad stops at the airport. I pick him up, and we go straight from there to back home. So it was 40, I think it was like 48 hours
Wow.
driving.
Yeah.
42, just around there. And,
Oh, he drove in.
oh no, he flew in.
Oh, you guys
I picked him
drove
up
back.
From the airport, and
Gotcha.
we drove back, or I drove back.
Yeah.
He was the passenger the whole time.
All right.
he might have drove like 6 hours.
So in the robbery, they stole stuff from you guys. Nobody got hurt or anything.
Nobody got hurt. They didn't steal anything. We like, to this day, I don't know why they came into the apartment. Like,
Maybe there was a wrong place.
it was so normal for people to break into apartments.
Wow.
In that apartment complex, that, like, it was second nature to us. Like, oh,
Gotcha.
it's whatever. Like, one of my teammates had just gotten a PlayStation 5,
Uh-huh.
so I'm like, might have been because of the PlayStation.
Right,
Like,
right.
I wanted the PlayStation, and that's what I told, you know, my coaches and, you know, the police that I asked, like, why would they come in there? I'm like, my teammate just got a PlayStation. Like,
Right.
you might want to get that. Like,
Right.
You know what I mean? So to this day, I don't know why.
Yeah.
My roommates I talk to, they don't know why.
Yeah.
And our thought is just, you know, they wanted the PlayStation. And
Right.
They wanted it badly, but nothing was stolen. No one was hurt. And
Praise God.
it was definitely something, looking back at now, I'm like, that's not
Yeah, that's not normal.
normal for
Yeah.
a college freshman to come in and experience that.
Yeah.
3 months after, or 4 months after moving from Reno, Nevada.
Right.
So it was definitely something that, it was interesting.
Yeah. So you guys drove back.
Drove back, long drive.
Yeah.
Lots of good deep talks. You know, my dad, mine and my father's relationship always has been wish-washy, because he was always my coach
Yeah.
and my trainer. So just that in general, he's always trying to guide me and walk me through how to be the best version of myself on and off the court.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so his relationship definitely has had its up and down. And, you know, that's why, like, my grandfather, he didn't know anything about sports. Like, that's why, like, I always say, like, I have a dad and I have my grandfather. Like,
Right.
My grandfather taught me anything off the court, off
Right.
the fields, you know, gardening or
Mm-hmm.
anything. And my dad, he was all on court. So the 42 hours, it was really nice. You know, we had a lot of good conversations, man to man.
Good.
It was something I didn't think me and my father were capable of doing, but we
Right.
did, and it was like to this day I love doing car rides because you get that time to you can't do
Absolutely.
anything else besides
Right.
listen to music or talk to someone. So
Yeah.
I love doing the long road trips, and it's because of that road trip with my father, just going through, I think we went through like 8 states.
Wow.
We went through St. Louis, Kentucky, seeing all the different landmarks
Yeah.
and like just having conversations. And he's been to a lot of places. So hearing his stories of how he grew up and his life as a baseball player and all that
Yeah.
was fun. It was definitely cool seeing the inside of my father because he's one of those guys that, he doesn't really talk about it.
Right.
He's more like focus on the moment. Let's have a good time. Let's make jokes. Let's watch the game and let's
Yeah.
enjoy our time right now. Let's not focus on the past.
Yeah.
So that car ride was nice.
Yeah. Well, and the hard thing is too, I mean, when you look at it, because of what happened, you got that time.
Yeah.
If that wouldn't have happened, you probably wouldn't have got that time in the
No,
car with your dad.
100%.
So it's our story, but it's really God's story, right? That he's working out through us.
100%. I say is, everyone has a different plan.
Yep.
Everyone has a different story, and it's, sometimes it's nice. It's a fun story. Sometimes you have that hard stories that you hear, and
Yeah.
I think the big thing was, especially when I moved back, my mother made me go into therapy
Mhm.
and like talk about everything that happened in Norfolk and in high school and growing up, and like it was really at that moment that I was like, going to therapy, like
Right.
I'm good, mom, like I'm good.
Right.
And my mom was like, you are far from good right now.
Right.
Like you need to go talk to somebody. And like I went to therapy consistently for 8 months or 6 months before I went to my last JUCO, and
Okay.
it was definitely something that like I just had to come to terms with that. It's okay to not be like okay. Like,
Absolutely.
it's like it doesn't make you less of a man or less of
Right.
a person in general if you're going through something mentally or you emotionally are just going through a lot.
Right.
And I think just being open with it is one of the main things that I'm trying to just preach and tell people, like it's okay, like let's talk, like
Yeah.
even if it's not
Absolutely.
to me, like there's so many people you can talk to nowadays. So
Right.
that's the big thing.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. The more we stuff it down, the more the explosion is going to be later.
Exactly. It's just eventually it's gonna boil over.
Yeah.
So it's how much do you want to spill out? Like
Right.
you already open it up and talk about it. It's gonna be a lot easier for when you do have a hard time to call on someone to help you or
Yeah.
call on God. Come forward and read the Bible and pray about it.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. So when would you say that you got saved and like met Jesus and accepted Jesus?
So I remember my very first time going to church. It was a church camp, and it was over a weekend. And the only reason I went was because my best friend and his older brother were going, and I wanted to stay the night at their house and play
Right.
video games.
Yeah.
And so we hadn't gone to church before, and I think it was probably around first grade.
Okay.
And my godmother calls my mother. It's like, hey, your son wants to stay the night, but we're going to a church. Like my sons are going to a church camp,
Right.
and it starts at 8 in the morning. Like I could drop him off, but like he said he wants to go.
Yeah.
Like, are you comfortable with that? And my mother's like, yep, go ahead. So that's when it started. I from there I went to church very consistently, and then during the whole moving around and all that, I didn't really go to church
Right.
anything, and a lot of it at that moment I was questioning,
Sure.
like, hey, like why am I going through this? Like,
Yeah.
I'm 11 years old. Why do I have to lose my best friend and
Yeah.
my grandfather, and then my home I grew up in, like all the memories. Like,
Right.
why do I have to go through that? And so I definitely questioned it for a long time, and it wasn't until probably my junior year of high school
Mm-hmm.
that I was like, you know what, like, I'm gonna just go.
Yeah.
So it was going into my senior year, and that really good friend I was telling you about, She was like, "Hey, do you just want to go to church with me?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." Like, I have nothing else to do on the Sunday,
Right.
and like, it means I get to hang out with you and get away from my family for a little
Right.
longer. So yeah, let's do it. And from there, I've gone to church, or at least I've watched it.
Right.
It's hard, especially with traveling
Yeah.
and going to different colleges, to find a stable church,
Right.
especially in those areas. But when I'm back home, you know, I go to every service, or I watch it.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until my junior year that I was like really like, all right, like,
Yeah. Tired of doing it my way.
I'm tired of like being alone. Like, it
Yeah.
just felt like I'll never forget the first time walking to a church after not going for like consistently for like 6 years, and sitting down, and the message was about like being open with yourself.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, if there's a message I needed,
Right.
it is this one right here. And so like it was probably at that moment, right when I sat down, they started talking about it, and I'm sitting next to my friend, and I look at him like, yo, like, this is good.
Yeah.
This is a good, like, I like this one.
Yeah.
And from there, I mean, to this day I go
Yeah.
every Sunday.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sold out from Jesus.
No,
Sold out to Jesus from that point.
Exactly at that moment, I was like, I got it.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. And now I'm sure you can look back as hard as everything that you've been through, which you can't imagine going through all that as a young child. But I would imagine now you can look back and kind of see God's fingerprints on everything, right? Like,
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's a like it's a blessing that, like, my family during the whole time, my parents did a phenomenal job. Like, no matter what, we always had a roof over our head,
Right.
and there was some type of food on the table.
yeah,
Whether it was a lot or a little, there was always some type of food on the table.
yeah,
And they stuck together and brought us through it, and like they went through the ringer.
yeah,
So looking back at it now, it's really like, oh wow, like,
yeah. God had us the whole
God
time.
had us the whole time, and it was
Yeah.
just like, it's hard to believe when you're going through it, going through the
Absolutely.
hard moments. Like, really, does he? And
Yeah,
it's looking back, you're like, he does.
Yeah.
Like, we're good.
yeah,
So it was nice to see.
yeah. That's really cool.
For like the last 6 years, everything that I've been going through, it
Yeah,
was like, oh, it's part of his plan. We're good.
right.
Like, the plan is set.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to go.
Yeah, it builds you for what the future holds, right?
Exactly. And, and even to this day, like, I think the big thing is knowing that there is, you do have a plan
Yeah.
with God, and everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
Just understand that.
Yeah.
And it's like tomorrow's a new day.
Yep.
Like my grandfather used to say, yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery, live today.
That's great.
And so like every day I just like, I'm just gonna live today, and
Yeah.
live today as full as I can. If
Absolutely.
I only have 90% of me, I'm living all 90.
Yeah.
But every day I gotta wake up and live however much I got in me.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. God's got a plan, and I can look back now, hearing you tell your story, is you've already had your media days.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna go start playing ball at a D1. You're gonna have more media days.
Yeah. So the school I'm going to is NAIA.
NAIA.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, I always say it's nice that I got to go through the media circus
Right.
during a short time of 2-3 months. 'Cause
Yeah.
now I know I don't want that. I don't
Right.
want to go through that.
Right.
So, I'm very rarely on Instagram or any of that. Most of the time, if I'm on Instagram, it's posting, deals or stuff I have to post.
Right. Recruiting stuff or
Yeah.
whatever.
But now, like, I try to stay away from social media. I find myself falling into like the TikTok and Instagram reels,
Oh, that's easy.
watching those, because that takes away and kills time. But I know during the time of when I was going through a lot, I would post on social media and as if I'm good and everything's great.
Right.
And I think that's where social media has gone for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Is like they try to portray themselves as something, not necessarily that they aren't, just like something that they are at that moment.
Right.
Like they make
Everything's all good.
Yeah, everything is great on social media.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say I don't enjoy it, but it's just something I try to stay away from
Smart.
because of that, like, that situation. Like,
Right.
like I know personally, like I wasn't gonna tell anyone on social media how hard like my life was at
Right.
that moment,
Right.
and so to now be at the point where it's like I'm open with how hard it was or the stuff I went through mentally and
Yeah.
on the inside, how open I am with people about that. Like it's no biggie to me to be on social media because I feel I post stuff that's true to myself.
Right.
The stuff I enjoy, the sports teams I enjoy.
Yeah.
The the dates I go on with friends and just all that.
Yeah.
I get to post that, and it's because I enjoy my life now.
Right. That's
So,
great. That's great. Well, and it would be amazing that because you're able to tell your story, and I say this all the time with all of our FCA students, is when we tell our story,
Mhm.
it helps other people know that they're not in it alone.
100%.
Because it's crazy how many times we'll have a athlete tell their story and their struggles, and every time they think they're coming in, and they're going to be the only one that struggles with that. And there's always, always, always other kids in that room that go, wow, I thought I was the only one struggling with that. So it opens that up so that people don't feel alone and they know there's a path.
Yeah.
And when we can share Christ with them, that's even better.
No, 100%. I think nowadays it's hard to kind of talk about your own struggles because it may turn into like a competition with someone who's had it harder.
Yeah.
And I think in general, when you come to a point where it's like everyone has their own story,
Yeah.
and what may be hard to you may be easy to someone else, and vice versa.
Right.
Like it makes it easier to go talk to somebody about it all and talk about your feelings and be open about it because you're not being judged.
Right.
It's someone's there for you and just helping you through the journey as
Yeah.
well.
It's great. That's great. So when do you go back to school now?
I believe I arrive on campus in August
Awesome.
or July. It's one of those 2 months.
Yeah.
But very excited, get to be near the Bay Area.
Yeah.
All that and be close to home.
I was just going to say a little closer to
A
home.
little closer to home than Southern Cal or Virginia. So
Yeah.
my mother is very excited for that, and father's excited to see me play and all that. So
That's awesome.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it. Excited to watch your story continue. My encouragement for you is don't be afraid to share that story because though it is personal to you,
Yeah.
there's other people that go through similar things. It might not be the exact thing of being misplaced in your home, or I think I'm going in this direction, but God's actually moved me in another direction. And when we share those stories, it's the truth. It's literally the living Bible. And when we see God moving in our lives and we can point to those points, I just think it's so awesome that can literally be an influence on other young men and women.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is just you have to understand that it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you anything less of a human if you're going through something that's hard or any of that.
Right.
It's okay to, ask someone to talk, just to sit down and talk. And, I've been blessed to have a lot of great people in my corner to go talk to, my mother, my father, therapists as well. And
Yeah.
obviously coaches, I had a great coaching staff at Copper Mountain this past year with Coach Santa Cruz and his whole family. I can't tell you the amount of times I walked into his office or his wife's office and just sat there and talked to him. And, when you feel you have someone just to talk to and rant to and
Yeah.
open up to, it's nice because you don't feel alone.
Yeah.
And so that's the big thing is like you're not alone in
Right.
this,
That's awesome.
and at the very least, you have God and looking over you.
Yeah.
So you're never alone.
I love
You
that.
always have someone looking out for you.
100%. 100%. I love that. You've got quite the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the story.
Yeah. Been through a lot and
Yep.
overcome a ton.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited for your future. Excited to see what's to come.
Yeah, me too. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Absolutely, Jordan. Well, it was good seeing you today.
Yes,
Pleasure meeting you and getting
Yes.
to hear your
of
story.
course.
God
Appreciate
bless
it.
you, brother.